It rains 9 months of the year in Seattle. It rains 9 months of the year in Seattle.
Give me a wink and a smile.
It rains 9 months of the year in Seattle.
We go together like a wink.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Just a Couple of Guys with your hosts, Pat Crimmins and Ray Rogina, talking everything now in our second year. Now, as summer moves into our busy lives, we are going to take the opportunity to talk about places to go and events to see. Ryan Cortez, the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Elgin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, will join us to talk about Greater Elgin, its summer events, and all that it has to offer. But when we return, Pat and I bring our travelogue segment back to the show and provide some insight into a destination-worthy site for your consideration in developing your vacation plans. Stay tuned.
At McNally Heating and Cooling, we understand that customer satisfaction starts with arriving at your home on time. Your service technician will apply the same attention to detail and quality workmanship to every job, large or small. We offer upfront, honest pricing, and we'll make sure the job gets done right from start to finish. From furnace and air conditioning service, minor repairs, or total equipment replacement, we do it all. Give us a call or find us online and let the luck of the Irish work for you.
We're back, and we're here with one of my favorite segments, the travelogue, where Ray gets to extol on his travels throughout the world, and I, of course, compare my travels on Route 38. Or there actually was a circus tent that I drove by a few times. I never went into it, but so I went kind of around there. So that's my travelogue. Ray, however, he went up with his lovely wife, and he went up to the Great Northwest, and a variety of cities and a variety of places. Let's start out with Portland.
Well, we flew to Portland last week. It's almost a 4-hour flight out there, and of course, you want to sit by the window on the left side of the plane, because if you do that, you go rolling right by big old Mount Hood, which was under a little bit of cloud cover. But boy, I tell you, that mountain is up close and personal, and there it sits right there outside of Portland.
Have you ever climbed Mount Hood, Ray?
We drove up to the Timberline Lodge the last time we were in Oregon, and that takes you almost to the top. They filmed The Shining there, if you recall correctly.
Oh my goodness!
In any event, that's.
Did they remember you there?
Pardon me?
Did they remember you there?
Yeah, I think they did remember. But I'll probably provide the producer with a picture to show that I was near the top of Mount Hood at one point. Anyway, Portland, I want to just talk about Portland briefly. And I mentioned this. Let me kind of who follows the news. We're hit in the last couple of years with riots and protests to say that, and particularly as it relates to graffiti all over the place. It just is a rotten shame, because they're two wonderful cities, and so you're going to have to expect that if you go here. And I'm not going to hide anything on that regard. However, I would say, compared to my last time in Portland, the homeless situation and the tents and all of that has been controlled to some extent, and things are not as bad as they were the last time I was there. In any event, both cities need some work. But having said that, the area provides you with so many opportunities for a vacation. And as I talk here, you'll see why, and I go in there. Let me just quickly mention the fact that in Portland, I want to mention just 3 restaurants. I'm a foodie, so you always got to talk about some places that you might enjoy eating. One was a great Italian restaurant that we ate last Wednesday night, 𝐒𝐿 Osteria, right in downtown Portland. I had the wild boar over pasta. It was unreal.
Is that like a ham?
𝐏𝐚𝐲'𝐬, they call it 𝐏𝐿𝐲'𝐬. And I had
Is that like a ham or something? I've never had boar.
Oh, it's not boring. I'll tell you that right now. It's very tasteful. Very tasteful.
I've been with boars, but I've never eaten it.
I am bored on occasion, but in this case, the wild boar over the pappardelle pasta was to die for. It really was good. A place that I've been to numerous times, not this time around, but if you go to Portland, you got to consider Jake's Famous Crawfish, best seafood in town. And then when we stumble upon for breakfast before we left town, the original pancake house. I bring that up because I've never been to a place that offered more opportunities for pancakes. From jalapeno pancakes to blueberry pancakes to cherry pancakes, and I could go on and on and on. The list is just exhausting.
Did they have wild boar pancake?
Oh my God, Diane and I could have ordered just one plate and shared it. Instead, we each ordered a plate. Well, we wolfed them down. We wolfed them down, I must admit, but I'll tell you, original pancake house. That's a little bit south of the city. Now, just a couple sites for Portland, if I may. One, you can't go to Portland and not go to a block-long bookstore called Powell's City of Books. You get lost in there for hours if you really want to.
Yeah.
We were there later at night, and they were saying we're going to close at 9 o'clock, so we had to get out of there. But I did buy at least one book. And Powell's City of Books is it's an independent bookstore that is legendary. And the other thing in Portland, particularly in the early summer, namely June, is the Rose Garden at Washington Park. The flowers are just unreal. You'll see some on the screen, and all I can tell you is you need to go to the International Test Rose Garden in Washington Park when you're in Portland. Okay. Having said that, Pat, Portland's a city of bridges because the Willamette River runs through there on the way to be dumped into the Columbia up on the north side. And it's got about 8 or 9 bridges across there, all of different shapes and sizes. But I would mention the St. John's Bridge because it's the one you run the Portland Marathon over, and it's an old-fashioned bridge. It's up the north side of the city over the Willamette, and it's quite a unique bridge to drive over. And so I did such. We took off after that and headed out to the coast, and a town that I can't say enough about up in the northwest corner is Cannon Beach on the ocean, and specifically it's noted for the fact that jetting in the water coming out of it's got to be millions of years old. Haystack Rock. And this rock, it's a giant edifice with all kinds of resident tide pool creatures. When the low tide is in the early morning, you can walk out and almost touch the rock, except you're not supposed to mess around. Don't ever go on the rock at all, please. It's protected. There's birds. There's all kinds of crustaceans out there. And all I can say is, and then when the high tide comes in, you're not going to be anywhere near it. But in any event, it's a biological treat. We got all the workers from the city out there explaining all the different. There's a whole rock just stuck with mussels. Oh, unbelievable! An unbelievable scene. Just mussels all over this rock that have been,
I remember those days.
But also then right north of the city, we went to 𝐒𝐿𝐻 State Park and hiked for 3.5 miles. And you're hiking in the woods. You're hiking over tree branches and fallen limbs and so on. And all of a sudden you come to this expansive overlook, and here's the ocean, and here's the Tillamook Lighthouse out there, and the big drop to the beach. And it's just to die for. It's just you felt like you've been in heaven somewhere, but it's quite an event. And so all I'm saying is Cannon Beach, seasides up there. There's all kinds of bergs along the Oregon coast from top to bottom. You can't go wrong. But this is a special place, and I'm really happy I was able to enjoy this.
Seahawks, right?
Seahawks, and not to mention the Seattle Seahawks. But
that's right.
but puffins, the bird some of you bird watchers out there know how rare that bird is, the puffin, and they hide in this rock, haystack rock, and they got a great orange beak. And Diane claimed she saw 2 of them. I did not, but anyway.
What are you saying, Ray? What are you saying?
Well, I'm just saying my eyesight might be very good.
You know, sometimes you can have hallucinations with all the seafood.
That's true. But I'll tell you this, Pat, I stuck to the seafood for the most part. I did not go to a steakhouse while I was along the vacation, and only one time did I have a burger. So hey, you know, now when I got back home, I did have a foot-long Polish, but that was at the near Midway Airport. Anyway,
I appreciate that.
Moving up the road from and moving towards Seattle, where we were our final destination, you want to stop at Fort Clatsop, which is where Lewis and Clark parked their fannies in the winter of 1805 and moving into 1806 as they moved toward discovering the Pacific and moving along the Columbia River there. The original fort, of course, is decayed and gone, but they've done a great job of reproducing the fort. And it's right in the middle of the woods and very quiet and serene and a great place to just settle in for an hour or so. Then we were headed into Washington, so you got a couple of choices, but one choice is to cross this 4.1 mile bridge at Astoria.
Yeah,
right there along the Columbia. I told you guys offline I got the yips, and I told my wife, you have to drive across this bridge, and she did. God bless her. But it's the longest single truss bridge in the country, and it's spooky. But we got across it in the state of Washington and on our way along the back roads into Seattle. Now, just as a point of order to our audience here who are enjoying some of the pictures that I've sent the producer here, one of the major focal points in Washington state, of course, is Mount Rainier. And but it doesn't get out very often. It only is out when the day is clear and so forth. On the Saturday we drove into Washington, we saw it, and that was it. I didn't see it again until I was in a plane going home, and I took a picture of it above the clouds. But my point being simply, when it's out, it provides a magical backdrop to the city of Seattle.
Oh yeah,
unreal. And
now, wasn't this the anniversary of Mount St. Helens when you were out there?
The 43rd, to be exact.
Oh yeah,
May of 1980.
Yeah,
is when it blew its stack, causing a lot of ash all over Washington State and Oregon.
Right.
And but boy, it's all come back over that next 43 years. It's like it never happened. Although when you fly out or come in and you look if you're on the right side of the plane, look at Mount St. Helens, you can see the top's been blown off of it. You can see it, but all the vegetation has all come back. It's quite remarkable.
It's nature, Ray. It's nature. The trouble with those natural disasters is there's nobody to sue, really.
This is true. And so you lawyers, when a natural disaster takes place, you cannot line up.
What are we going to do?
You cannot line up at, so to speak.
That's right.
Anyway, when you get into Seattle, just a couple of tidbits, places to go. Not a couple downtown, but a lot of this stuff is involved in the environment surrounding the city. You got to take a boat ride on Puget Sound out to Bainbridge Island. You have to.
That's a ferry.
Enjoying, boat ride.
Ray, is that a ferry?
Yes, it is a ferry.
Yeah.
Okay. And in fact, you want to go to Bainbridge Island and drive around for it, take your car with you.
Huh?
You take the car with you, or you can go as a passenger only. But it's certainly, you can bring the car with you. If you bring a car, round trip's about $40.
What does Bainbridge Island provide for us?
Bainbridge Island, a lot of hiking trails, plus a cute historic downtown area. You can do shopping. It has restaurants as well. But there's a lot of hiking, so you get right off and hike for several miles around the island.
My knowledge of Seattle and this area comes from Grey's Anatomy, where it rained just about every episode. Was it cloudy and rainy all the time?
Well, very little rain, a little spit a while, but it was cloudy. I have to admit.
Did you find that it was affecting your mood?
No. You can still have a lot of fun with that.
Could you imagine living there with clouds all the time?
That's a great question. Diane and I talked about the fact, that's a great point. And here was the question I asked Diane. I said, can you come out here and spend, not move out here, but come out and spend 3 weeks or a month? And she said, I could.
Yeah.
There's that much beauty out there that you can put up with the rain and so on. Now you gotta, if you go in the summertime, most of the days are pretty glorious actually. And they talk about that, but you're right. The winters are not snowy. Well, the last time the Bears played there, it did snow.
Yeah, I think so.
It did snow. But anyway, Pike's Market is for anybody who's even watched the film of Seattle knows about the flying fish. They talk people, the fresh fish sit down there in the marketplace, from Dungeness crab to clams, our favorite, Pat, clams.
I'm a new clammer.
To king salmon. And it's just the pictures say it all. But once in a while, somebody orders a fish, they toss the darn thing in the air. And I did not get it on film, but you can go online, I'm sure on YouTube, and put in flying fish at Pike's Market and see what I'm talking about. Another site about 25 miles east of Seattle on I-90, you have to cross over Lake Washington to get there, is Snoqualmie Falls. A beautiful, it's not Niagara Falls, but it's a roaring edifice, and people propose out there all the time. You can hike down to the bottom, and there's a beautiful lodge sitting right next to the falls that you can spend a weekend at for a few big bucks, I might add. But it's a upscale lodge. But Snoqualmie Falls would be in a morning. You drive out 25 miles out, you come back. No trip to Seattle is complete unless you go up in the Space Needle, an edifice that was built in 1962 for the World's Fair and is now 60 some odd years old. It can withstand an earthquake over 9 on the Richter scale. And if you want to, for any panoramic view of any part of the city, and if the mountain's out, you'll see the mountain.
How high is it, Ray? How high does it go?
You would ask me that question. I'm drawing a blank.
I mean, obviously, it's higher than the Arch in St. Louis or.
Oh my God, yes.
Willis Tower in Chicago.
No, not as high as the Willis Tower.
Not as high. Okay.
I wish I could tell you the exact about that, but never ask a question that somebody. That
and so, what do you do when you're in there? You rotate, walk around the circle.
Walk around. There's a restaurant. You can actually have a meal, and it rotates around. There's also a level below the main level at the top where there's a glass bottom. You wouldn't get me going down there, but you can stand on that and looking down and talk about getting me some that would create a possible pass out for Ray to have that happen. But
well, you're delicate, Ray. You're delicate.
I am. I had no vertigo though up there, and I actually created a little film for Henry, pointing out the ferries that are crossing Puget Sound, and again, you can see almost every nook and cranny of Seattle up there.
Nice.
Now, I did go to I don't go to a major league town if there's a ball game. I don't pass that up. And in this case, I returned to a ballpark that I have gone to before, T-Mobile Park, home of the Mariners. They playing your favorite team, the A's, and that didn't take long for that debacle to take place.
Yeah,
they bombed the A's that night, and right next door, this was the site of the old Kingdome. Some of you sports fans know. On the site of the old Kingdome, they've blown that up and they built a baseball park, and right next to it, Lumen Field, which is where the Seahawks and the soccer Sounders play.
Yeah. And
so they're right next to each other in the southern part of the city, and they're wonderful edifices. I have put T-Mobile Park in my top 5 ballparks in the country now. It's just a quality ballpark. Two more places I'd like to talk about before we finish. One is if you drive about an hour and a quarter north of Seattle and head out toward the San Juan Islands, you get an opportunity to cross a pass called Deception Pass, and it's a gorge between an island and the water, and
Point Nemo.
Well, isn't was Point Nemo for me, because once again, we have this gorge crossing this expanse of water. It's 2 lanes. And I said to Diane, no, you're going to drive across this thing. You can actually walk across it, but Pat, let me just tell you, you're
Right.
walking across it, a truck almost hits you. I mean, you're that close to the road. Diane said, we're not going to walk across this thing. I said, you're right, we're not going to walk across it. But there's hiking trails all the way around it. You can walk all the way down to the beach. The pictures say it all. Deception Pass on Route 20. And I might add that while you're going to Deception Pass, and this is for you people who are planning an event perhaps for next year, you might want to consider going out to this area, which is called the Skagit Valley. Skagit Valley, the Tulip Festival. Miles and miles and miles of tulips. The pictures will say it all, but my point being simple, we missed it by a few weeks, and so the fields were already cut down, but when they're in bloom, it probably beats Holland, Michigan, is my guess.
Well, everybody knows that tulip season is in April, right?
Did I say May? You're exactly right, April.
Yeah, I think.
In fact, the Tulip Festival out there ends on April 30th. It ends on, thank you for saying that.
Note to self. So it sounds like you did a lot of walking, so you didn't have the usual vacation weight gain, right? I mean, you guys were working.
I think I probably put a couple pounds on.
Well,
Be very truthful about it. One more I want to say before we cut this off, and that would be, this is one of my top 3 events of this trip. And yet, if you had told me this before I went to visit the museum in question, you'd say, I'd say, you're crazy. I'm not gonna put this in my top 3. Diane said, well, I want to go see the 𝐒𝐿 Garden and Museum, the Glass Museum at its Seattle Center, right next to the Space Needle. Right next to the Space Needle. Well, Pat, all I want to tell you is this guy is glass blowing, and some of the designs and things he produced in this museum are unbelievable.
Would that be 𝐒𝐿𝐬?
The picture,
Or who is it?
𝐒𝐿𝐬.
Oh,
𝐒𝐿𝐬 is his last name. Daryl, I think it is, for Darren.
I saw some of those pictures on your Facebook. Amazing.
Well, we'll have them on the screen here, and
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something. They were unbelievable, and this is all glass driven. And I told her afterward, I said, don't feel bad about dragging me in there. That was one of the highlights of the trip as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, and you bought your wife something nice?
Well, yeah. Well, she put up with the ballpark, so I got to put up with a museum. But
Sure,
in this
I
case, it
understand.
wasn't being put up. I didn't have to put up with it. It was really something.
Yeah.
Anyway, last but not least, I'm only going to mention one restaurant in Seattle because it's my favorite, and I've been there every time I've gone to Seattle, and it didn't fail me again. And I know you're going to laugh when you hear it, but 𝐒𝐻's Boathouse on 𝐿 Bay, and I had the king salmon. And it was, again, not disappointing whatsoever. It didn't disappoint one iota. We did not sit outside. We were right next to sitting outside. And you can look over 𝐿 Bay, and you can look at the Olympic Mountains, and it's something else. So if you go to Seattle and you only can have one meal, and you got to save up a little money here because it's not cheap, but 𝐻's Boathouse on 𝐿 Bay on Seaview Avenue. And that, Pat, is my trip, and we had a great time, and I'm back home and happy to be back on the podcast, but it was a glorious trip.
Well, it sounds like it was great fun. You've been up Northwest how many times? 2, 3?
I want to say, no, this is about the 5th trip out there.
5th trip?
The first trip I made to the Northwest was a driving trip from San Francisco to Seattle along the coast all the way up, and that was my introduction to Portland and Seattle. And the whole Oregon coast, which again I would say you need to do it. We can talk about Oregon forever. That's for another time. There's other things in Oregon to do, but anyway, had a lot of fun. Good to be back.
Well, I might be traveling to the courthouse in Geneva next week. I'm kind of excited about that. Maybe I can share that with you.
Only if you make some. I guess if you're going to the courthouse, you're going to make some money over there, aren't you?
Well, that's
representing somebody.
That's what we're trying to do here. Well, it sounds like you had great fun, and I wish I could have been. Your lovely wife seemed to enjoy herself. So once again, Ray, thank you very much for your input. Hopefully people can use this information and engage in their own travel. Maybe we'll call Shay Clark. Does he do domestic travels?
That's a good question. I don't know that he does, but I'll bet a trip out to Oregon and Washington State with Shay would be a hoot.
A hoot indeed. All right then.
Hello, friends. This is Ray Rogina. You face technology challenges every day that threaten to steal business, compromise data, and bring your business down. Without a good partner to help protect from phishing, ransomware, viruses, data breaches, employee turnover, and cybersecurity threats, your business is at risk of losing everything. TechWorks has been the trusted IT partner to Fox Valley businesses for over 20 years, keeping systems secure and providing extraordinary customer service, helping your business grow. Call TechWorks today at 630-482-2227 or visit www.techworks.com. That's TechWorks with a Q, TEQ works, and see how TechWorks IT service can transform and secure your business. Hello, friends. This is Ray Rogina. I'd like to say a few words about my friends at the Karis Group of Restaurants, one of our sponsors. I've been a frequent guest at all of their fine restaurants for years, one of which is Rookie's, which has locations throughout the Fox Valley and beyond. My favorite dish at Rookie's is the gyros plate with the saganaki appetizer. Oopa! My wife, she loves the Hall of Fame chicken sandwich. But I can honestly say that I've never had a bad meal there, regardless of whatever I've had to eat. The wings are out of this world, the salads are delicious, great burgers, tacos, all American specialties, and don't forget their pizza. And of course, you can wash this all down with one of their famous Mai Tais. Try them out. St. Charles, Geneva, Elgin, Hoffman Estates, Huntley, and Roselle. RookiesPub.com. I'll see you there.
We are back and pleased to have with us today Ryan Cortez, the Director of Sales and Marketing for the Elgin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, and that's at exploreelginarea.com. Ryan, welcome to our podcast today. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Ray. Excited to be a part of the podcast today.
Let me start by asking this question, which is always seems to be a foundation question for any interview, and that's you to talk a little bit about the organization itself, what the goals are and the mission, a statement, a little bit about your staff, and what cities are in the Bureau.
Sure, that's a great starting point, Ray. So as the Elgin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, we are the tourism department for Elgin and a couple of other surrounding communities, and those other communities include Bartlett, South Elgin, East and West Dundee, Hampshire, Pingree Grove, Carpentersville, and Sleepy Hollow, and then Gilbert's as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have about 10 communities in total that we service, Elgin being the largest one. And as a bureau, we help to promote the city to those that may be traveling to our destination for whatever reason it may be. And then we also try to bring events to our communities as well, whether it's utilizing our sports complexes for youth sports tournaments, maybe it's bringing a conference or smaller convention to our area, or past couple of years, we've really broken into the wedding market as well. So whatever the event is, I'm here to help provide all the different ways Elgin can be a host for that event, and then also provide all that information and insight about what there is to do and see while people are visiting the Elgin area.
I think Pat's interested in talking about that wedding plan.
Easy, Ray. Is it difficult to manage so many cities in this capacity?
Well, 10 does sound like a lot, but
Sure.
Fortunately, we have great relations with all the local officials of our 10 communities. So because we have such strong relationships with village managers, with mayors, and city staff, it's been a lot easier to work and navigate and always be in the know about what's happening in our communities, what's coming to our communities, what ways we can better service our communities as well, and what our communities maybe want to best get out of their relationship with the Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's having strong relationships with each community individually is as a very important factor into being able to maintain so many communities at once.
You mentioned a lot of cities that are relatively smaller in comparison to Elgin. Obviously, they don't have the funds to have their own bureau necessarily. So this is kind of a consortium of these 10 cities, right?
Yes, that is correct. But we utilize every one of our 10 communities' resources typically to help make an event happen. So if an event's coming to Elgin, but they like the restaurant that they see or the maybe the conference center in East and West Dundee, then we're more than willing to work with them and say, hey, have your event here in Elgin, but for these parts of the event, you can have in East and West Dundee. That's just a 10-minute drive away. So it's not an inconvenience to anyone involved in the event.
That's fantastic. You know, the podcast is Fox Valley wide. So we're excited to include not only Elgin, but the other 10 cities you mentioned. The research indicates that you guys are involved with helping people with meetings, sporting events, and even weddings. Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah. So what's nice about us as an organization is our services are 100% free. So we are a resource that's being provided by Elgin and the rest of the communities we service to help those that are interested in learning more about Elgin or that want to know what Elgin has to offer them when they do come and travel to our area. So we don't charge anything for our services. We don't ask for a cut of any types of commissions or ticket sales, anything like that. We're just really here to help them. And sometimes they come to us and they say, hey, we're interested in coming to Elgin. We saw your guys' sports complex, or we saw this event venue. We're interested in using it, but we'd like to learn a little bit more about your area. And I help provide that information. And then other times it's us reaching out to those organizations, say, hey, we noticed that you're looking for a place to host your event next year. And based on the parameters, we think Elgin could be a great host destination, and here's why. And provide all the information of what Elgin has to offer that they probably wouldn't have known about if they had to do their own research.
Well, for those listeners who aren't familiar with Elgin, what's your sales pitch? What do you tell these people that don't know anything about Elgin?
So when I meet people that have never heard of Elgin, Illinois before, the first thing I like to tell them is about our proximity to Chicago and how you get to enjoy big city amenities in Elgin and in the Elgin area, but without having to pay big city prices to do so.
Yeah. Well, I used to work in Elgin. I love the city. And tell me a little bit about these weddings. So if somebody wants to have a wedding, Elgin offers a venue or some cooperation?
Yeah, so over the past, I'd say 10 years, a lot of wonderful wedding venues have popped up in downtown Elgin and our surrounding communities. And I think that they're the style of wedding venues that a lot of couples look for when getting married these days. And so we help get the word out about them. But then once a couple books their wedding date at a venue in the Elgin area, we're there to help them find local vendors such as florists, videographers, photographers, caterers. We help them in setting up hotel room blocks for all their guests that are traveling in from outside of the area. And then we also help them with, hey, where's a great place to have my rehearsal dinner? Where's a great place to take pictures for either an engagement shoot or right after the ceremony as part of their special day when they're grabbing photos with the rest of their wedding party? All that little information and smaller details that go into planning such a big and special event, we help provide some background knowledge about for all those that are seeing Elgin as the place that they're going to get married.
Is your funding coming from the taxpayers of all of these 10 cities or just Elgin, or how does it work?
Yeah, so our funding comes from a variety of avenues. Number one, we do receive funding from the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois funds us as a CVB and a lot of other CVBs throughout the state to help draw tourism to the state as a whole. Right. And then we also do receive funding from local municipalities such as Elgin and Dundee as well. Not every one of our communities provides financial assistance to us, but that doesn't stop us from servicing them as much as we possibly can. So we are very lucky to be receiving funding every year as part of, I'd say, government budgets, both at the state and local level. And even throughout the pandemic, we were able to stay afloat as an organization to keep on running because both the city of Elgin and the rest of our community saw us as an asset not to lose during a tough time like the pandemic.
Oh, sure. Right.
I was going to say that every town that has an asset like the 𝐏𝐻𝐿's Auditorium certainly is a step ahead of other towns as far as drawing people into your community. And you've got a world-class symphony. You've got a great children's orchestra. Talk to us a bit about what the 𝐏𝐻𝐿's does to make downtown Elgin even that much more enjoyable over the course of whether it's a summer, a fall, a winter, or a spring.
Yeah, that's a great point you made there, Ray, about the 𝐏𝐻𝐿's Cultural Center that we have in downtown Elgin. And what's wonderful about that space is it's a great way for Elgin to market itself as a destination for the fine arts community. And it's a venue that is open all year round. So it doesn't matter what the weather's like, if it's cold, if it's wet outside, if there's snow, because it's indoors and it's a large theater, the event can always take place anytime throughout the year. And they host a variety of events. They host concerts, they host competitions, recitals, competitions such as dance and cheer. They host plays and theatrical performances, and they even host like large guest speakers as well that could draw a large audience. And you know, we're very fortunate to have the 𝐏𝐻𝐿's here. It actually is undergoing construction that just started like this week. So it's going to be closed down for a little bit and plans to reopen in, I think, the spring of 2024. But when it reopens, we know that it's already got a full calendar of events that not only take place on the weekends, but there's plenty of events that happen during the week as well that anybody is welcome to attend. Some are ticketed and some are not, so always be aware of that when traveling to Elgin. But since it's right in the heart of downtown Elgin, there is an abundance of parking. It's close to major highways and then all the local restaurants and businesses that Elgin has to offer as well.
Well, I can testify to the glorious evenings I've had there listening to the symphony in the past. As you say, it's just it's a world-class facility, and Elgin should be very proud to have a place like that as a focal point for his downtown area. You know, if our residents and guests go online, I think they'll discover, and I want you to talk a bit about this, what I think to be a very colorful and well put together production. And that's the Elgin Visitor's Guide, which you have online at your website. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so we are the ones that are in charge of creating that visitor's guide for Elgin and the other communities that we service. And so we put that together 1 to 2 years apart from the previous issue. So what's nice about it is it comes in both a physical copy and then a digital copy as well. So if someone wanted to look at it right now, they can go to our website at 𝐿GinArea.com and they'll see Visitor's Guide as one of the tabs on our homepage. They click on that and it's a PDF version of our Visitor's Guide. Otherwise, we do have those physical copies that can be distributed at no cost to anyone that's interested in having one. We try to keep them at all of our hotels and local businesses so that those that are traveling into the area can grab one as they please. But they can also request that we mail them a visitor's guide through our website at 𝐿GinArea.com as well. So if someone prefers a physical copy, we are able to send that to them at no cost to them.
And I'm a big foodie, so if I'm going to come to a given town, I want to know what the restaurants. It seems to me that you do a great job of reviewing all the restaurants that Elgin has to offer in these publications.
Yes, that's one of the big things we like to highlight in the visitor's guide in every issue is all the wonderful, unique places we have to dine at here in the Elgin area, whether it is for food, maybe it's drinks, maybe it's where outdoor dining is located. Since we have so many wonderful small mom and pop restaurants and other establishments such as like coffee shops, we love to highlight those in our visitors guide. So when people come here, they're not just seeing what corporate America has to offer, but they're seeing what Elgin itself has to offer that they can't find anywhere else.
And of course, summer is upon us as we meander into the summer and then the early fall. Pat, I think you have a very important last question to ask Ryan.
Well, first, we have a holiday weekend coming up, Ryan, and I think this is going to be aired Friday. So anything special going on in either Elgin or these other cities that you mentioned for the holiday weekend?
Yes, with the Memorial Day weekend coming up here, there is an abundance of events that really unofficially kick off the summer here in the Elgin area. And starting with on Saturday, May 27th, East Dundee is having their rescheduled St. Patrick's Day fireworks show. So if anyone is interested in seeing fireworks and starting off their summer with a bang, head to downtown East Dundee along the Fox River. That is where you'll see the fireworks show that's going to be happening. That was supposed to happen back for St. Patrick's Day, but due to inclement weather has been postponed until now. And then the city of Elgin and the village of Carpentersville and West Dundee, they both put on Memorial Day festivities as well. I know Elgin does a Memorial Day ceremony and Carpentersville does a Memorial Day parade along with West Dundee because it starts in Carpentersville and then ends in West Dundee. So those are some events that are going to be taking place in the Elgin area this weekend for Memorial Day.
You know, as I said earlier, Ryan, off the air, every day is St. Patrick's Day. So if we're going to celebrate in March, great. If we celebrate in May, all the more. All the more. As to the summer itself, any big events or events of interest that you can key us into in terms of what's happening in the future?
Yeah, Pat, I got my list here to make sure I don't miss any because there's a lot happening this summer in the Elgin area. Starting right in one of our smaller communities, Gilbert's. On June 1st through the 4th that weekend, they're doing their community days. So it's a festival type atmosphere that is a great way to familiarize yourself with Gilbert's and what they have to offer, and also enjoy the start of the summer with some warmer weather. And June 3rd, for the first time ever, Elgin will be hosting a Pride Parade and Festival. So June is Pride Month, and we have an organization that is excited to organize the first ever Pride Parade and Festival that'll be going through downtown Elgin. And then all the festivities will be happening at Festival Park in Elgin, which is right along the Fox River next to the Grand Victoria Casino. And that's where a majority of our summer events take place in the Elgin area, is at Festival Park. It's the perfect spot for it. It's what it's designed for. So following the Pride Parade, we have Skate Jam, which is another first-time event. It's going to be happening June 10th at Festival Park, and it's the celebration of youth and skate culture and includes a pop-up skate park, and a live concert with a surprise headliner. They don't even tell me who the headliner is going to be. It's that secretive, but that's a first-time event that we're excited to have happen here in Elgin, and hopefully become something that's reoccurring.
We're not going to say Taylor Swift, right?
You know what? It could be anyone. Maybe she liked to skateboard back in the day. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yes.
But we're keeping our fingers crossed that it's someone that everyone's going to enjoy.
Sure.
And then later this month, later in the month of June, we have the return of the Juneteenth Festival. Last year was its first time being held in Elgin at Festival Park as well. So that's going to return on June 17th. And then if you guys haven't had enough fireworks by that point, there's going to be a community event and fireworks show happening at Meadowdale Park in Dundee, and that's put on by the Dundee Township and Park District. And then right after that goes into 4th of July weekend. And when it comes to 4th of July weekend, there's a ton of different celebrations that happen at each one of our individual communities. Elgin has its annual 4th of July parade and fireworks show every year, but because 4th of July is on a Tuesday this year, there's a lot of events happening that weekend beforehand. So communities like Bartlett, they do a Summerfest that lasts pretty much that Thursday through the 4th of July, where they do fireworks, and it's a carnival type atmosphere. Pingree Grove, Carpentersville, they all do their own 4th of July parades, and we'll have a 4th of July fireworks show as well. And Pingree Grove, I believe, is actually going to do some of their celebrations the weekend after July 4th. And that is going to be a time period where there's just going to be a lot going on all weekend long. We get really big into celebrating 4th of July here as long as the weather allows us.
Good.
Yep. And then as we get to more of the second half of summer, That's when those celebrations like the Back to School Bash in South Elgin will be taking place in downtown South Elgin at the beautiful redeveloped Panton Mill Park along the Fox River. And then Hampshire will have their Coon Creek Days. That's a very popular annual event that happens in downtown Hampshire every year. And this year it is going to be taking place from August 10th through the 13th. And then as the unofficial end to the summer festival season, Elgin will be hosting a end of summer bash on August 19th, and that will also be taking place at Festival Park. So there's a lot of big events happening all throughout the summer, starting this weekend in Elgin and our surrounding communities. But there's a lot of reoccurring smaller events that we'd like to point out that are always happening in our communities throughout the summer as well. So for example, several of our communities host farmers markets. I know the one in Elgin is going to be starting on Friday, June 2nd, and that goes every Friday from June 2nd to October. Bartlett, Hampshire, and East Dundee also do farmers markets as well. A lot of our communities do those weekday music in the park nights, whether it's on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, hear live music at a local park in one of the communities that we service here in the Elgin area. Cruise nights are also a big one too. They like to happen throughout the year, along with movies in the park that Elgin will be hosting several throughout the summer. Nice. The Gale Board and Library always likes to have a summer exhibit. Last year it was Wizard of Oz themed. This year it's going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle themed. So that's an exhibit that'll be very fun and different, and you can experience it at Gale Board and Library all summer long. And we also like to point out, you guys mentioned a lot of the food and dining establishments that we highlight as a convention and visitors bureau. For the first time, we are launching a new campaign that started back in April, but then it continues throughout the summer and the rest of the year. And that's highlighting a couple different variety of restaurants we have here in the Elgin area. So we started the Taco Trail campaign back in April. And in June, we're going to be launching a burger campaign. And then in the fall, we'll be launching a coffee trail campaign as well. And those campaigns are designed to highlight all the wonderful restaurants we have here in the Elgin area that serve tacos, that serve burgers, and that offer coffee on their menu. And we encourage people interested to sign up for the food trail passports, because as they check into a taco serving restaurant or a burger serving restaurant or coffee serving, when that happens in the fall, as they check in, they have to check into a certain amount of restaurants, and then they're eligible to win prizes from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So that's something that people can learn more about at exploreelginarea.com, or follow us on social media at Explore Elgin Area. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok as well. Wow. For an up-to-date list of all the events that are happening throughout the summer in all of our communities, and then for more information about the food trails that we're currently running as well.
It sounds like it's I'm sorry, Ray. It sounds like you need the podcast to go out there and maybe a live remote, kind of sell the city for you.
Yes, I think that would we'll definitely have to get that scheduled sometime.
What are you talking about?
We've been to Aurora, Ryan. We were in Aurora. They invited us for their Christmas walk. So,
well, I know if you guys can travel to Aurora, then you can definitely make it to Elgin. So that is a great idea. We'll have to get you guys out here to experience one of these events live.
Randall Road is the Nile for us.
I live off of Randall Road too, so I know just what you're talking about.
Right.
Just a couple of final questions. You mentioned the fall. Are we still planning a fright night or whatever on Halloween downtown? That seems like it's a tradition now in Elgin.
Yes, Ray, that is correct. So Nightmare on Chicago Street, the big Halloween festival that we host here in downtown Elgin. It returned for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic last year and was a big hit, drew about 15,000 people to downtown Elgin. So it returned without missing a beat, essentially, because that was pre-pandemic numbers that we were used to seeing, and we're happy we saw last year. And it's going to be coming back on Saturday, October 23rd of this year. So that is a ticketed event. So keep an eye out for when tickets do become available to be purchased, because I know they usually do early bird pricing. That'll be cheaper than when you buy tickets the day of the event. But if anyone who likes Halloween, they got to come experience the way Elgin celebrates with Nightmare on Chicago Street. Last year, we had beautiful weather for it. We're hoping that continues next year as well. Costumes are not required, but they are encouraged. And this is definitely an event that is for adults, not particularly for children as well. But that is the largest event we do throughout the year in the Elgin area. We look forward to it every year. We're glad it's back. And if you haven't had the chance to check it out yet, I highly encourage you to do so.
Well, Pat, I know what you're thinking, and I am too. With a couple costumes, that might be an interesting podcast event up there somewhere at some point in time.
With or without costumes. That, though. Yeah.
The other thing, I would be remiss, and I'd be my dear friend in South Sleepy Hollow would be mad if I did not ask the question. We can't ever not talk about the ride of Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman up in Sleepy Hollow. Sometime around Halloween. I don't know when exactly, but that's an annual event up there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. If it was, you can't be called Sleepy Hollow and not have that event and not have Headless Horseman riding through your communities at some point throughout the year. So that is a very fun tradition that they do have throughout the year in Sleepy Hollow. It's a very unique event for such a small community. I do not have the dates for this year's event yet, but I would expect them to be bringing that event back. And once we know when those dates are, we'll have them up on our website at 𝐿ginArea.com. We'll be sharing it on our social media at Elgin Area on Facebook and Instagram. So we'll definitely get the word out as we hear about it. And that's usually how it goes. Once we hear that an event's coming, we help make sure that the community is aware of it as soon as possible so they can best plan for that event returning as well.
And we talked about this offline, and the last question would be maybe a little bit of a primer about the fact that Elgin did experience at the casino a round of events geared to the World Series of Poker. And you're not guaranteeing it's going to happen again, but it was such a great event. Talk to us a bit about what happened and what could happen again at the casino in the fall or in the spring, possibly.
Sure. Yeah. So we recently had a change in ownership of the Grand Victoria Riverboat Casino we have here in downtown Elgin. And with that change in ownership, brought the World Series of Poker Circuit Tour to Elgin for the first time ever back in the fall and then in the spring as well. So that was a wonderful first-time event that was very successful in drawing players from throughout not just the Chicagoland area, but the Midwest in general to Elgin to participate. It's a 10-day long event, and through those 10 days, there's smaller tournaments that happen. So because of its longevity, it's a great draw of tourism to the area. And last year, we were fortunate to be the only stop on the tour that appeared twice. We're hoping to have that same amount of stops again, but we plan on at least having one stop on the tour next year as well. And that tour starts in the fall, ends in the spring, so it should be a couple months until they announce next year's tour. But we are considered their Chicagoland location when it comes to the casino stops throughout the Midwest. So we're hoping that it comes back. We expect it to. We just don't know how many times yet, and we don't know when exactly it's going to be coming back yet, if it's going to be in the fall, if it's just going to be in the spring, or both. But that's an event that if you're a poker player, I highly recommend visiting Elgin to check out. You don't have to be a professional poker player to participate. Anyone who's interested in participating can do so. So it's something that if you're passionate about poker, you're passionate about card games, is worth not just coming to maybe participate, but even just check out in person and see it for yourself. I got the pleasure of seeing it in person for the first time when it was here a couple months ago, and it's such a unique and mind-blowing event. I don't know if they let me play because I would be chit-chatting too much at those tables for some of those players, but it's definitely a unique event that we are happy to have here in Elgin, and we look forward to having it return.
I know Pat and I want to sit at one of the poker tables at the casino. We're planning on that at some point during the summer, right, Pat?
Well, I'll be happy to watch, Trey.
All right. Hey, the website is 𝐿ginArea.com. And our great thanks to Ryan Cortez of the Elgin Area Convention and Visitors Bureau for alerting us to all the fine events right here in the northern region of the Fox Valley. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank both of you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a joy talking to you guys, and I hope to be back on the podcast soon.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. This is Ray Rogina. Hey, the Kane County Cougars are back for the summer. The best family entertainment around features sunshine, baseball, and fireworks through Labor Day. with great food, entertainment, giveaways, and running the bases after every game. There's something for everyone at a Cougars game. And Thirsty Thursdays feature $2 beer, pop, and hot dogs. And on Sunday, a $15 ticket gets you $15 right back in concession cash to spend at the ballpark. What a deal for you baseball foodies. Come visit us at beautiful Northwestern Medicine Field this summer for your dose of sunshine, baseball, and fireworks. And make your family memories today. Pat, that was a great interview with Ryan. And before we go to a closing, I want to let our audience know that we've got a lot of things planned for the summer here. I mean, I'm very excited, particularly with one of our new sponsors, the Cougars.
It's a very exciting summer that we have planned. And it's not all planned, of course, but a big part of it is going to be our relationship with the Kane County Cougars, going to games and doing what we do best, which is I'll be playing a little bit of second base. I don't know what you're going to be doing, but we hope to be on the field.
Well, I want to talk to a few of the players, and I, of course, want to talk to some of the fans. And I know that our producer, Paul Stuckel, will have great accommodations negotiated for us. But that first event is coming up next Thursday, June 1st.
Yes.
We're going to be at Northwestern Medicine Field for the Cougars, and our first podcast of the summer with the Cougars.
And
now,
we're inviting our friends and our podcast friends.
I would hope we're going to be able to have a few of our friends available to enjoy a hot dog or a pork chop sandwich or something of that nature, because at the Kane County Cougars, it's all about the fun. It's all about the fun.
That's right.
But there's also other things going to be going on this summer. I know for a fact that our producer has steered us into a variety of other events, including the granddaddy of them all, Swedish Days in Geneva at the end of June.
Yes, always a pleasure. I enjoyed it my whole life. Yes,
Pat, I can imagine you've been to a few Swedish Days, just as a participant.
Well, like we talked about during the Christmas walk, we worked in the courthouse and would just kind of roll out of work at 4:30 and go into the Swedish Days and maybe come back, maybe not to work, but it was always enjoyable.
Another event that I'm sure you brought your children to, and I brought Matthew to at least once, the Kane County Fair in July. And I can see us mayhaps doing a podcast on the Ferris wheel.
I have a little PTSD about the fair because, as you know, I lived on Fairview Drive and it was very close to the fair. And we could hear various things from the fair throughout the week. And it was a little agitating, but alive. I'll never forget it. The bearded woman, all sorts of stuff. It was crazy.
All right, but it's always a lot of fun for as long as the weather stays. It seems to me.
That's
I don't know
right.
about you, but it seems to me it's always hot, and there's always at least one major storm during the fair. And
we had a
I'm
tent
hoping that
or
this
some
is a
kind
year
of
where that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we had a tent or some kind of carnival on Route 38 there by the courthouse, and of course it rained and the whole time. So every time we have something, it seems to change the weather. I don't know what it is.
And then of course there's Blues on the Fox and the Naperville Ale Fest, and it looks like we're going to be able to participate in those two events. Not to mention Rookies Rock House, the Karis Group's newest. I'm not going to say best because that's their decision to make, but I'm going to say their newest venture into the world of restaurants and entertainment.
And hopefully we'll hear a band that night, or at least some musical talent.
I'm hoping so. I don't intend to go to Rock House and not rock.
That's correct, because Ray is a rocker, as we know.
Finally, and this is again tentative, but Pat and I are in negotiations on this with our producer. But we feel like there's a good chance that we'll be able to do a podcast live from Lake Michigan, out in the water. And the specifics have to be negotiated, but including maybe some Dramamine for me, so that I'm not going to pass out or something from like your PTSD with the fair. Open water is kind of tricky, but
I'll for the sake of going out on a beautiful day, you got to be kidding me if we have to do that. So I think that's going to be part of the summer agenda as well.
I've had several near-death experiences near water, so I have my own issues there as well. But
I should
I
be laughing at
understand
that.
the producer will have somebody on the ready to save our
You're gonna have a
lives.
defibrillator on the boat as well. Anyway, that's friends. That's a little bit of our summer agenda. Not to mention the fact that we'll have also some lively guests throughout, and we look forward to a rousing summer with just a couple of guys. So, for our producer, Paul Stucco, looking for that perfect day to boat on Lake Michigan, and for Pat Crimmins, looking for an invite to ride on any boat, anytime, any place.
Actually, to anything.
Anything. Invite Pat. This is Ray Rogina reminding you to enjoy the long holiday weekend, remembering what it symbolizes and who we honor.
That's right.
As always, be kind, be considerate, and be safe. So long, everyone.
It rains 9 months of the year in Seattle.